Welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on 88.1 WBFH The Biff, as well as on Birmingham area municipal access in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and the village of Franklin. You can find both of our TV stations, Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99. Today as well on the web, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link or on the small player on our homepage, and on Facebook today via Facebook Live on our Facebook channels. Once again, Civic Center TV 15 and 89.3 Lakes FM, facebook.com/Lakes FM. And as always, joining me from her home studio in Kegel Harbor is Ronnie Dahl.
Oh, Tyler, nothing like waking up to a winter wonderland.
Oh, it's wonderful, isn't it?
In April.
Yeah, oh, it's fantastic. I left here yesterday after our meeting coverage last night, walked out and had just a thin layer of snow on my vehicle, cleared it off, of course, before I left. And then this morning, same thing, snow and ice, too. I had to bring out the scraper and all that. Luckily, I keep it in my car until, midsummer usually. But, what a day. What a day we're living here. Snow is back in Michigan.
So we made the mistake of putting up the roof, we have a gazebo in the backyard, but it's a canvas top. And so we made the mistake of putting it up a few weeks ago. It was so nice out. Let's get out and enjoy it. So this morning we go out and it's pretty much kind of collapsed because of the heavy weight of the snow on it. So we are definitely hoping that, it's not beyond repair.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that, you think you're out of the season and you think you've got Michigan's weather all figured out, and now it's a spring. We can start preparing for spring and summer stuff. And because you get to a point where, usually sometime in early to mid-April, we have some sort of winter comeback very briefly, and it just didn't happen. We had a few days of cold and thought, okay, maybe that's going to be it. And then that warm weather creeped back in. It was here for a few days, and boom, the snow. So, it's the kind of unexpected stuff I think probably a lot of people are experiencing right now after the weather from last night and so far today.
Yeah, it's kind of about perspective in life, right?
Yes.
Because if we would have had that this past November or even Christmas morning, it would have been so pretty and we'd be celebrating. But when it's April and the end of April as well, it's not so fun. Now, the good side of all of this, I believe we are going to have an upswing in the temperatures by the weekend, so it should be gone within a day or two.
Yeah, it's not going to be here for very long. It's one of those things where it's like, it is a matter of perspective. A few months ago, not a big deal. Christmas, Thanksgiving, other holidays along the way, it looks nice outside, it's festive. Now we're at the point we've had the warm weather, we've been teased with the warmth and the sun of spring and summer and the flowers starting to pop back up and the smell of spring and summer in Michigan being out there, and we're done with winter. So we're coming back for a little bit of a last moment of, hey, I'm still here. It's not something I think people are very excited about, but you know what? We'll get through it. A few more days, and we'll be back to the regular April showers and preparing ourselves for the May flowers here in Michigan.
So we hope, and I'm hoping that those May flowers do still bloom. And we had so many tulips in our neighborhood that were blooming throughout the area, but also the trees, they were so beautiful right now. So, when the snow comes like this, it damages so many of the flowers that have already been coming up because it's hard for people to cover those. You're not going to dig them up, bring them inside.
No.
But, it's like everything. You enjoy it while you have it.
Absolutely. You got to enjoy it while you have it. And, if nothing else, hey, it looks kind of nice out there, having a little brushing of snow over the trees and all that. It's not really impeding your drive to and from work or other places. So, you know what? We can appreciate it at least a little bit, Ronnie.
I'm telling you, if anything, this year has taught us all to appreciate things while they last, because you never know how quickly things change. Hey, did you see the news that made the headlines here locally? Yesterday, actually, I think I saw it's being picked up nationally as well. Ted Nugent, in his own style, announces that he has COVID-19.
Yeah, I did see that story. Not entirely surprised by it, considering his attitude toward the virus since the onset. And he, like many others that have that opinion, have kind of been making fun of the situation or downplaying the pandemic, while the rest of us have been doing our part to keep each other safe and to take this all seriously. So, you certainly feel for the guy like you do any other human being that's sick. You don't want to wish any ill will on him, but do you really feel that bad, considering we've all known this, we've all been believing this because it's just simple science and truth, and you downplay it, you don't take it seriously, and then you see how serious it can get, especially at his age.
So it's just that I think I was more surprised at his age. So rock guitarist Ted Nugent, the Motor City Madman, said he has COVID-19. He's 72. He announced Monday he was infected with the coronavirus in a video posted on his Facebook page that at times uses strong and very racist language. Nugent said he has had flu-like symptoms for the past 10 days, and he thought he was dying. He said mostly the symptoms have been a congested head, but he had to crawl out of bed some mornings. So he is a Michigan native. He spends a lot of his time in Texas now, though. He's been very vocal about hunting rights, and he's been an outspoken supporter of Republican politicians. So in a Christmas Facebook message, the rocker downplayed the virus and criticized measures taken by state and federal governments and those around the world to slow its spread, saying it's not a real pandemic. And he is against a lot of the vaccines as well. And, everyone has their own opinion, and they have the right to their opinion. But sometimes when you live through what someone else experienced, then those opinions can change as well.
Yeah, and hopefully that is the situation after his experience with COVID-19, where he felt like he was dying and was saying he was crawling out of bed when his symptoms were at their height. Maybe that provides a new perspective for the Motor City Madman. Hopefully it does, and he can change his tune, because he's a public figure. A lot of people follow him. A lot of people trust the word that he puts out there, or follow the word in some cases that he puts out there. And you know what? If his situation with COVID-19 helps some of these people take this pandemic more seriously, get themselves protected, help them to begin to believe that they need to take some precautions at the very least to help protect themselves, their families, and others, then that at least there's some silver lining in this. Otherwise, it's unfortunate that he got COVID-19. The way he was taking this virus not so seriously, and some of the rhetoric that he was spreading, I don't really feel all too bad for him. And I don't think a whole lot of people probably do, other than the fact that you don't want to see somebody get deathly ill in any situation.
I think I was more surprised too that he's 72. I'm like, wow, yeah. Where's the time gone for some of these people? 72.
Yeah, 72 years old. That's also not exactly the age you want to be getting COVID-19. So for someone like him who's in a higher risk group, you would think you would want to take it more seriously too. So, you live and you learn. That's 72 even.
So with that, one of the popular annual events here in the area has been canceled for a second time. Autorama 2021 canceled due to COVID-19 surge here in the state of Michigan. It's considered by car enthusiasts to be one of the nation's top custom hot rod shows. It was supposed to be making a comeback, but now it's canceled amid rising COVID-19 cases and concerns that the event, which attracts hundreds of cars and thousands of people, could make the pandemic worse. So we're sorry, the show's website said Tuesday, stay healthy. We'll see you in 2022. The annual car and hot rod show was slated to return to the TCF Center from April 30th to May 2nd. That was more than a month later than it usually is scheduled. However, in the end, the pandemic forced organizers to cancel the event altogether. So many of these events were looking forward to this year, thinking we would be well out of the pandemic, but here we are in the middle of it. And I think this is just going to be the beginning. We're going to start to see more events such as this one be canceled as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we're at this point where we, several months ago, at the beginning of the year especially, we're projecting that around this time we'd be starting to see things much more rapidly return to normal. We had much more positive projections, and with the variants, with the increased spread of COVID-19, the lulls we've seen here and there, and the complications we've seen here and there through the vaccination process, and because of other unforeseen events that are basically just chaos theory in action, we're not at that point. So unfortunately, Autorama and other events most likely coming up are going to be either severely changed and altered again in 2021, or are just simply not going to happen at all due to precautions for COVID-19. That being said, as we do get further on into this pandemic through the vaccination process and slowly emerge back out from COVID-19, I think that what we're going to see is, in the next few years, a lot more increased participation in these kinds of community events and gatherings and traditions, and greater appreciation for them as well, beyond just, I'm interested in cars, but this is a community event. This is Metro Detroit's essence, and we want to participate in, if nothing else, than to rejoin this community that we have lost some touch with over the last couple of years due to the pandemic.
Well, it's been a few years since I've been there, and I only went to cover it for work back in the day, but it does attract a huge crowd. I mean, there is a massive following. People from all over the country come to Detroit to attend this event, because when you can get all of these types of cars in one area at one time, it is something of a sight to be seen for the enthusiast. But I think one thing on this one too is this event was indoors. And we do know some of the other ones are going to be outdoors. Right now, I believe the Grand Prix is still on.
Yeah, as of now, I believe that is the case, and it hasn't been changed. That's something where it's a spectator sport, and of course you want to have a lot of people there to enjoy the event, but it's also something that, much like other sporting events, whether it be NBA basketball, NHL hockey, MLB baseball, NFL football, that we've seen without fans, it can be something that could theoretically be ran without fanfare this year too. It'd be unfortunate. It would still bring at least some good press to the Metro Detroit area, but it wouldn't entirely surprise me either if some of these races, these car races like the Grand Prix in Detroit and as well throughout the rest of the nation, may be canceled or postponed due to the pandemic.
I think a lot of it's going to depend on our numbers here in the state of Michigan, if they start to come down as we get into the summer months, because we did see that happen last year, and that happened without the vaccine. So we'll see if it does happen this year as well. And it's got to be so hard for so many of these organizers, because it takes a solid year to plan some of these events, and then to have to make these last minute adjustments can be difficult. But I will say, more than a year into this crisis, they're getting pretty good at just going with the flow. So
yeah, I think a lot of these businesses and a lot of these organizers for these big events have kind of had to change their tune and how they go about this. I don't know for sure, because I haven't spoken to them, nor am I someone that has experience with planning these large kinds of events. But I would imagine that during this pandemic, as they're projecting months out and we have positive projections and those start to change and go back and forth, that maybe they're putting together plans of, okay, if we're in normal times, or if we're back into whatever normal is after the pandemic, this is how we're going to do things. But if things are going awry, if things are kind of falling off, but we can still hold the event, we got to do this. And of course, the third option would be to cancel and postpone until the next year over. So a lot more contingency plans have to be made, because you simply don't know all that could happen that could potentially impact whether or not the event goes on. And then on top of that, if the event does go on, in what capacity and how does that look? And does it still capture the same essence of those traditions that we've had in the past?
I think 2022 is going to be a very fun year.
I hope so. I mean, I really hope that we do actually have that happen this time, because we really thought that about 2021, and of course we've had some complications that are so far making that not look like it's going to be the case, at least not for the majority of this year. So hopefully, yes, we do have a situation in 2022 where we can have a really fun year and give people that positivity in their life that they've been looking for and seeking and really just hoping for throughout this last year plus that we've been involved in this pandemic.
Hey, so for everyone out there, no prescription rapid COVID-19 home test are going to be sold at CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart starting this week. So consumers are going to be able to buy the rapid coronavirus test without a prescription this week at the 3 national chain retailers. It's an expansion that comes at as the nation's vaccination effort accelerates and states relax distancing requirements and mask mandates. So the maker of the coronavirus self-test kits are going to be shipping them to CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart locations, and they're also going to be sold online. So the 2-test kit, which last month received Food and Drug Administration emergency use authorization for screening, is going to cost $23.99. And the retail test kits are going to eliminate another barrier for people who want to test themselves without visiting a doctor or a telehealth provider. The tests are going to deliver results in about 15 minutes, and they don't require a lab. So the retail test, it gives consumers another option to get tested, even as several states have converted the mass testing sites to mass vaccination sites, because testing nationwide began decreasing this last winter as states and local public health departments steered limited resources to the vaccination effort. And I think this is going to be just another one of those tools. Some people are going to be more comfortable doing a test in their home, but also, they're like, hey, do I think I have it? Was I maybe exposed? It'd be easier just to go to the drugstore, pick up the test, rather than trying to make an appointment or go through a testing site.
And especially if you're in a situation where you think that you may have had a potential exposure to COVID-19 and you want to have some understanding of whether or not you are positive for COVID-19 within that incubation period, whether it be for work purposes or just for general safety of yourself and others as well. This gives that convenience to go out to the drugstore, pick up one of these tests, take that test in 15 minutes, have some semi-definitive yes or no that even at that point allows you to then seek medical attention from your doctor for a PCR test that's more accurate to make sure that you're not getting a false positive or a false negative in that case. Or if you are positive in that test, notify your employers, notify other places that you may have been in the last several days during that incubation period since you thought you may have been exposed, and go through the systems at play to contact trace. So it's convenient, but it could also potentially be very helpful for a lot of people as we continue through this pandemic, and testing still remains critical as it helps to determine who has COVID-19, of course, but also how a lot of different operations in business and in the community are also impacted.
With that, just as a reminder, you can always catch the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com, click on coronavirus. That's where we post the headlines each and every morning. Also at the top of the page, you'll find direct links to various resources, including the CDC, the state of Michigan, and Oakland County as well. With that, we're going to take a quick break here on the show, the Wednesday edition of the Megacast. When we come back, we have a great lineup for you today. And right after the break, we're going to be talking with Oakland University. Commencement is coming up. It's just weeks away. For so many of these students, it's a time for celebration. And but what is commencement ceremonies going to look like this year for Oakland University? We'll be talking about that right after the break here on the Megacast.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
With us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios while Mr. Tyler Keefe holds things down back there at the office in West Bloomfield. As a reminder, you can catch us live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon, Civic Center TV, Birmingham area municipal access. Also, if you have cable, thank you for supporting programs such as this. You'll find us on Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T, and you can also listen to us on the radio. If you're out driving around, tune us in, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. It's been a challenging year for so many students on all different levels, but college students as well. But they have survived the pandemic, and for so many of them, they are reaching graduation time. But what is it going to look like this year? To talk a little bit more, let's bring in Dr. Stephanie Lee. She's an administrative associate for the Provost office over at Oakland University. Dr. Lee, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And, you know, first, just hats off to all of the students that have been able to manage and survive this pandemic and reach it to graduation.
It's just truly during this time, it's been amazing for the students. They've stayed motivated, they've been involved, even while working through a pandemic. So yeah, hats off to our students.
You know, think about the stories they're going to be able to tell, you know, their kids and their grandkids. Back when I was in college, it's going to be great. You know, like for us, you know, for our parents, they all walked through 20 inches of snow, 10 miles uphill to get to school. These kids lived through a pandemic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just they will have stories to tell.
So with that, for a lot of them, they are nearing completion of their college career. It's such a big part of that is the tradition of the commencement ceremony. What is it going to look like this year at Oakland University?
So this year, we're going to do a drive-in style commencement. And so with that, we're offering the students an in-person commencement. So they will be able to bring their families, sit in the car, and watch all the exercises. We will have a live component as well as some virtual components. So they're having their commencement experience. It's just, it looks a little different, and it's different for them.
So how is it going to work when you say it's drive-through? So they'll be there in person, but yet partially virtual. Is it going to be on a jumbotron and a huge parking lot? Will they be parked?
Yes.
What is the, logistics of pulling this off?
Yeah, so we're saying drive-in because drive-through meaning that they think that they're not going to stay. So they will come in, they will park their vehicles, and they will look at we have two large jumbo screens. And so they will be able to watch the entire production virtually. And then we will have some live components for them, and they will have to get out the vehicle to do some things, and it's going to be exciting. They're anxious. They don't know what's going to happen, but, we've done it before. We did it in August. It was a big success, so we truly are excited.
I do feel like coming up to it's the 1 year in, but this also happened at the end of last year. So you guys have a little bit of experience there. What lessons did you learn from last year that you took into this year's commencement?
Well, some of the lessons we learned was the weather plays a big part in having something outdoors, because the students will still walk across the stage and take a photo with the president and some of our leadership. So we had these banners up behind them, and that one particular day, we had winds up to like 30 miles per hour. So we were like, oh no. So we had to drop the screens and use the nature as the backdrop of the ceremony. So weather plays a big part of this day.
So right now, Mother Nature, we're asking you to cooperate. You gave us snow today. So, when it comes to the drive-in commencement, can we get a little bit of help, right?
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking about everything blowing around. It was like, can anything else happen?
Right. We have beautiful flowers and diplomas.
So with that, how is it going to work? Do you guys break it down like into the various schools? Yes. So there's not so many people at one time?
Yes, we do. We break it down into college and school. So we'll have a total of 6 ceremonies between March 13th and the 15th. So we do plan on having over 1,800 students that's going to participate over those 3 days.
So with that, they drive in, they park. Where's the location? Is it? I would imagine it's there on campus.
It is. It's in our parking lot 1. We call it P1, and this parking lot is very. It means a lot to our students, because this is the parking lot where most of our students spent most of their days looking for parking spots. So this is the parking lot where you would see students zooming up and down if they see someone walking out of the building, trying to hunt down a parking spot. So we thought, what a way to end their academic career at Oakland with not having to look for a spot. We have the police to direct you directly to your spot.
That's kind of a good way to end their college career there at Oakland University, because I will say I've been there on career days, and you do that same thing, right? You're waiting for someone to walk out and you kind of slowly follow them. Right. Wait, are you leaving? Are you leaving? Yes. So, and you have to have a little fun during all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we try to make sure we incorporated some of our traditions that we have at the university at commencement. So we will have our bagpipers, we will have our university marshal. The students will get out their car for the tassel ceremony. The doctoral students will be hooded by a family member. So we're adding that component that they would see inside of our arena. We're just bringing it outdoors so we can be safe and we can social distance.
We're speaking with Dr. Stephanie Lee. She's an administrative associate for the Provost office over at Oakland University. Do you have a backup plan if we do get bad weather, such as like a torrential downpour? I hate to say those words. I don't want to jinx you.
We do have a pivot plan, and we have that Sunday, May 16th, as a backup day. So if one of the ceremonies is rained out, we know we would notify the students that they would have a backup plan to come on May 16th as our pivot plan.
So do you have a limit on how many people can attend with that student, or is it just however many they can fit into the car? Because I'm thinking clown car situation here.
Good question. So we've been getting pictures. Students have emailing us pictures. Can I bring, a party bus? Can I bring a limo? Can I bring an RV? So if the vehicle can fit in a parking spot, they can bring it. So if you have a van that can hold 11, it fits in a parking spot, so they can have 10 guests.
That is right. You have to give them points for being creative during this, right? Students, I'd be like, okay, let me start booking some of these party buses, and they can use the additional money as well.
Right.
So how is it going to look? Will they actually walk across a stage, or is it just more of a virtual where maybe they'll be highlighted on the Jumbotron?
So when the students first arrive and we're getting the students all parked, we will have each student's photo, their major, any honors, and a quote to their family members will be displayed, kind of, going through a cycle. After the actual ceremony, our students will do a recessional where they will drive their vehicles to the other side of the parking lot where they will exit their vehicles. They will be handed their diploma, likely by their dean of their school or college, and then they will walk across a physical stage. So and then they'll exit, and then the faculty and the rest of the staff at the university will be cheering them on, congratulating them.
I'm just trying to think of the logistics behind this. So are you trying to park them in assigned parking spots so that you can keep track of where they are?
When they arrive, the police will park each individual car.
Wow.
And then when they leave out one car. We escort them out one car at a time to get over to the other area where the staging is. And that lasts about 30, 40 minutes for 200 cars. So we have it, it's a well-oiled machine.
So with this, you and everyone there at Oakland University, you've been so creative throughout the pandemic. Are you anticipating that this is going to have to stick around for future semesters as well?
Well, we're hoping that eventually we would go back in person, be able to go back to the arena and use have our traditional ceremonies. Fall semester, we'll see. We may likely have to have a virtual ceremony depending on the numbers. But if we're able to house our ceremonies in our arena, and we may have to have more, and we're fine with that. As long as the students, when they leave their ceremony, they're happy and they feel as though that all of this is, and their parents are happy, get that in, that it was a success and that all their work is not in vain.
What's it take to try to come up with something like this? Just the logistics of actually making it happen. We've heard so much about thinking outside of the box.
The logistic is unbelievable. We have over 80 volunteers that's going to volunteer on that day. We have a steering committee of 15, and then we have our office that's all working on logistics. We have a project management system that we use to ensure every month and every week on what we need to do. We have PowerPoints that's going to show everyone how they're going to go from a parking spot to the stage, and multiple communications to the students.
How many contingency plans do you have going on as well? I'm imagining like a flow chart, right?
Yes, we do. We definitely have a flow chart. And we also, it's good to be able to think on your feet and be able to be creative and say, that wasn't a part of the plan, but let's see how this worked at this ceremony and go from there.
And with that, we should also say to some of the students, we know it's maybe not what they wanted or what they would have liked to have had, but at least it's something, and it's more than nothing. And to have a little bit of grace and just embrace this year and all of the challenges and celebrate, their accomplishment as well, because, so many times I think we've been stuck in the traditions, but if anything, during this crisis, we've had to think outside of the box and do things differently. And sometimes that's a good thing as well.
I agree. We just wanted to make sure, we always say it's a drive-in, and we also let the students know it is in person. It's not virtual. You are here on our campus. You are with your family. You will get your diploma. You will walk across the stage. You will see your faculty and the president. So we're giving them some in-person components. It's just they don't have to sit and listen to the speakers in person. Those will be virtual.
So with that, how will it work? Will it come across the speaker in their car?
Yes, it will. We will give them a station to turn their car radio to, and that's how they will hear it.
See, it really is like, repeating history. We're going back to the old days of the drive-in movie theaters, right? Remember putting the speaker on the side of your car to be able to listen to the movie? I think you guys need to pump in some static, so their parents could appreciate it.
Absolutely. It is. So if you look at our website, you will see that it's an older vehicle that we're using to do the display of what it's going to be like, because it's like, full circle.
So again, we're talking to Dr. Stephanie Lee. She's the Administrative Associate for the Provost Office over at Oakland University. Commencement, again, is going to be happening May 13th through the 15th. I would imagine the students have to respond if they plan on actually being there in person. And there's probably a cutoff date for that.
Yes, they will have to. There is a registration for participation. They would have to come up to our student activities office so that they can pick up their parking pass. When they arrive, they have to have the parking pass in their vehicles so we can see that they have RSVP'd, and so we can get them parked in their spot. And yes, the cutoff day, actually it's passed, but some of the graduates are studying hard, and we know that they're trying to pass their finals and get ready for finals. So we are allowing one or two to notify us if they overlooked, if their parents are now reminding them, did you contact the commencement office about graduation? So yes.
Maybe not, don't let them know that. Let them freak out a little bit. Dr. Stephanie Lee with us here on the Megacast from Oakland University. You guys have been amazing throughout this challenging time. Anything else that you want to add? Because you have so many things going on, just trying to get through the year and trying to give these students some type of celebration at the same time.
We would just like to let the students know that we're going to have a good time. We have honorary degree recipients that will be there. We have, the campus is going to be involved with the entire week for us, and just to come to celebrate your accomplishments, and know that, this drive-in is creative, and that you will have stories to tell about your degree from Oakland University from 2021.
Exactly. And, still cap and gown required, right?
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
Dr. Stephanie Lee with Oakland University, we so appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Have a great day. Stay warm.
Thank you. You too. And fingers crossed that Mother Nature delivers a beautiful weekend for you and your team, and for all of the graduates as well.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You too. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we are going to be speaking with one of the West Bloomfield Parks commissioners. But on top of that, she's also written a book. What's that all about? We'll talk about it right after the break on the Megacast.
Wearing a mask is more than protection. It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful, because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Finally, I just got my COVID-19 vaccine.
I registered with my local health department and they called me.
I got mine at the pharmacy, and my neighbor got hers from the hospital.
I'm not a techie person, so I called the COVID hotline, and they helped me schedule an appointment.
Get vaccinated with the first vaccine you can. Protect us all.
Learn more at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
We want to say thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday to be with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the home studios. Mr. Tyler Keefe holding things down back there in West Bloomfield. As a reminder, we are live here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. You can catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Also, if you have cable, thank you. A portion of your fee helps support programming such as this. You can tune us in channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can also listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM the Biff. I will say, working from home, my coworker is all about the snacks. She wants snacks throughout the entire show. So hopefully she'll be quiet with that. We're all going through all of this. Sally Wenczel joins us now. She's the author and illustrator for Let's Build a Rain Garden, but also you're a West Bloomfield Parks Commissioner. Sally, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I will say the illustration, the front cover for your book, super adorable.
Thank you so much.
So let's start off with the book. How did you come up with this and go from that spark of creativity to actually finishing it?
Oh, it took a long time. It was probably from the first sketch, pencil on paper, to finally publishing it and having it in my hands was about 2 years.
Wow.
I picked up one of these blank journals at the craft store, and I just started sketching flowers and that were in my rain garden, because there they were. I could study them. It was this classroom for me, and they were my subject. And I just wanted to put all my ideas down. And then I thought, oh, maybe I could make a little trifold pamphlet and give it to the environmental department to have in their kiosk. It was never going to be a book. It was just going to be like a flyer or something, just to get the word out about native plants. And then I started doing more sketches. And then I actually wrote an article. It was like a preliminary prelim to the book for the Chaldean News. I was writing for them for a little bit as just a freelancer, and they picked up the rain garden story. And so I had a real deadline to meet. So I had to have some sketches done, like professional. And then from there, it just got bigger. And then I found out that I could publish a book on Amazon for, it wasn't that easy, but it was, they lay out the steps for you. So easier than breaking into a publishing house. I just wanted to get it out there. So we went the Amazon route. And
so many people are, which is really beautiful, because there are so many people and authors that maybe thought about doing a book, but because of that old school way of doing things, they thought it was off limits to them. So we have so many new authors, such as yourself, able to take advantage of this platform and share your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's some people kind of turn their noses up at self-publishing, but I think if you have an idea, you just want to get it out there, and maybe people will embrace it. And I think it's been embraced. It's floating around in Germany. I know some friends have bought it there. That's the nice thing about this platform, is that it's all over the world. I mean, you can really reach all corners of the globe. And we've done that.
So with that, Sally, obviously you have a passion for our earth and the environment. How long is the book? Is it geared just for kids?
Well, it is a kid's book, but I'm hoping to reach the hearts of the adults who are reading it with the kids, or helping the kids to read it. So it's really getting to the adults through the kids, let's say. The kids, I remember when I was a kid, I influenced my parents in third grade when we started recycling in 1987, 88, whenever it was. I brought this idea home, it was coming from a kid. Sometimes you can influence your parents to do things, when a kid gets excited about something. So I'm hoping that by tapping into the kids, they'll love this idea. And then the parents are the ones who are obviously going to, call Miss Dig and go buy the sand and the pebbles and the topsoil to install a rain garden to make it happen. So.
But I like the way you think there, influence the adults through the kids, because sometimes as adults, we forget to see things through the eyes of kids. And what a great project, a family project, especially right now in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. My 7-year-old daughter is my biggest critic. She tells it like it is. And she helped me a little bit with, hey, Mom, you should add this, or, take this out, or maybe you should do this. She's great. And, they're out there exploring. I call it, our nature classroom. We have 4 rain gardens at my house. And when it rains, we're so excited. Let's go see the rain gardens fill up. Let's, watch them come to life. And they fill up temporarily. It's just a temporary pond. So you don't have to worry about mosquitoes or anything. And then within 24 hours, the water drains out into this earth. Because you've got these deep-rooted native plants in there that are absorbing. They're like fingers going down, embracing the earth and really absorbing all that storm water. So
with that, Sally, where can people find the book? On Amazon, you said?
On Amazon. One bookstore picked it up, but it's way up in Traverse City. So Horizon Books picked it up, and I sold a few up there. But right now it's just available online.
And that's one of the things that's hard, because we've lost so many of our local bookstores.
Yeah, I was really sad. Even when Borders closed here, that was a great spot to go hang out, have a cup of coffee, just walk around and, see what interests you, a real book that you can hold on to. Right. I say up north, there are a lot more that have survived there's one in Snowbound Books in Marquette. Traverse City has quite a few. Petoskey, those are the places that I frequent. So I know of the bookstores there.
So Sally, you're also a commissioner with the West Bloomfield Parks Department. Tell us a little bit about this past year, because we know so many people are starting to take advantage of these resources that are right here in our own backyards.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm really fortunate to live I can see the nature preserve right here across the street. I cut through my neighbor's yard to get to it. And I run back there a lot. And I used to be just maybe me and a couple other people on the trail. Now there's all kinds of people utilizing the forest and really getting out there, families and larger groups, and kind of like, oh, what are all these people doing in my woods? But it's great to see. And I think it's been a real, refuge for people, a place where they can go and breathe, really happy to see.
With that, enjoy and explore our own nature that's in our backyards. And, you did mention that you have kids. So has this been something, or have you seen other families really open up to nature throughout the pandemic?
Yes, absolutely. Even just in my neighborhood, we have it's a very active neighborhood, a lot of walkers, bikers, and I'll just sit out on my front lawn because I was really just needing some conversation and during the lockdown, and everybody was out walking and getting outside, and people approached me because they know I'm involved in Parks and Parks Commission, and they thanked me. Thank you. The parks look great. We're so happy. We went to Drake and flew a kite. The woods, getting out there and utilizing the trails and the West Bloomfield Trail. That's really popular. So I think there's definitely been an uptick, and we've talked about that in our meetings. We've seen an increase in park usage big time.
Sally Wenczel with us here on the Megacast. She is an author. She wrote the book, Let's Build a Rain Garden, but she's also on the West Bloomfield Parks Commission. With that too, if people do want to build a rain barrel, is it hard?
A rain garden?
A rain garden.
Yeah.
But you put a barrel, right?
Rain barrels are right in the same category too. It's all green infrastructure. So that's the blanket term. So green roofs, bioswales, rain gardens, rain barrels, it's all helping our watershed. So it's not hard. You can hire a contractor. Friends of the Rouge has an excellent website with lots of resources if you want to go that route to find a contractor to put it in for you. But you can do this yourself. You really find a downspout, or if you've got a downspout outlet or a sump pump outlet is a great spot to do this. And I'll show you a picture here. You can see I have a little diagram inside of just the real basics of how to call Miss Dig first. I gotta say, just be sure to do that. Don't want to run into any problems. You're gonna dig a little dip, and maybe the size of a small car. And depending on the size of your house, maybe a little bigger, because you're getting all that runoff from the roof that would otherwise just run into the street or over that hard packed lawn surface. We've got all these turf grass lawns, and it's really compact earth, and the water just runs right off. So you're catching the water in this dip that you've dug out, and you're going to lay down some gravel or some pea gravel, and then it's like a parfait. So you've got the pea gravel here.
That's a great analogy, by the way.
A parfait, yes, an environmental parfait in your yard. So you've got gravel, sand, topsoil, and you can see the water-friendly plants here, like the blue flag iris, that's a native. And then up on the edges, like mine, I have a berm that's all wild mint, and it smells great. You're attracting all these pollinators at the same time. So I would say, yes, it is. We'll say from easy to hard, it's more on the easy. Yeah.
We like do it. We like easy. But with that too, how did you become so passionate about this?
Well, going back to just growing up, most of my growing up north and hiking and camping and always being in nature, and my parents taking us to the most rustic campgrounds possible. You're washing your hair in the lake. There's no bathrooms, being around nature, and then moving back down to the city, urban environment. I moved to this small lake here in West Bloomfield. And the first summer that we moved into this house that we bought, there was a fish kill on the lake, and it was devastating. I was sitting there on my little deck down by the water in tears, just 3 months pregnant, so extra tears, and just what is going on? There's all these dead fish everywhere. The oxygen level in the lake had dropped to like 0.7. Marshall Labadie came over and tested the water, and we were all just standing there in shock, like, oh, this lake was suffering big time. And so I joined the HOA right away. So Carolyn Irie, my dear friend, said, well, join the board. Let's, come on and let's solve this problem. And she signed me up for a lakes health course online at MSU. So I dove right into educating myself about everything watershed, lake health, algae, natural shorelines, rain gardens. I'm like, how do I solve this problem? This is my backyard, and this neighborhood of 177 households. This is the center of our neighborhood, this lake. And it was just like in the fast lane, and I discovered first we did a natural shoreline over at the park. We did 4,000 square feet of native plantings that helps to filter stormwater and all the crud going into the lake. But something that every individual homeowner can do is put in a rain garden to help filter pollution and runoff and sediment going into a small, shallow lake like we have. So that was really what sparked my passion for this, was solving a really big problem. And I foresee this isn't going to be the only lake where this happens. As maybe temperatures increase, population density increases. This is a small problem, but it is actually happening in Lake Erie right now. The algae blooms, the excessive fertilizer. We're just taking baby steps. This is a baby step that you can take at home. Everybody can do their part. So
it really is, because sometimes when we think about it, it can be overwhelming, and people feel like one person can't make a difference. So something like this, when we break it down into steps and we find that passion, sometimes it comes through the eyes of children. to help us make these little steps. And if we all make little steps, they turn into big steps. And I know one of the things you also suggest, growing a freedom lawn.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
Oh, I love that word. My dear friend Beth, she's a landscape architect. I have to attribute that phrase to her, freedom lawn. She's my garden mentor. And so let the dandelions grow, for goodness sake.
I will say, I kind of have a hard time with that one.
I know. It's so, everything's so uniform. Green lawn, everything has to look like a golf course. And it's really hard to be the weirdo on the block. I'm the weirdo on the block. But I have this huge patch of violets and dandelions and plantain, which is another medicinal plant. And we eat our lawn. I say I eat my lawn. I don't put any chemicals on it, no fertilizers. And the clover is actually a deeper, darker green than grass, and you don't have to water it as much. So a freedom lawn is just kind of what it is. It's a natural lawn. So it's helping the pollinators, the bees have a way station, to come and relax. They don't have to go searching for miles for a flower. But we make dandelion jelly. I tried it for the first time last year, not kidding, just for fun, 1 jar. You can put violets in your salad. You can, and all of this, the freedom lawn is it goes right in the state with green infrastructure, watershed health. You can do this at home. This is your little piece of the puzzle. You're helping to keep the watershed clean. The fertilizers and the herbicides and the toxic stuff that's just on all this lawn turf grass out there. Sorry, I get really excited about this because I drive like along these long stretches, and it's just, I call it death grass everywhere, just with no flowers at all, nothing. And maybe that's beauty to some people. It's all in the eye of the beholder, right? But really, it's a problem.
Yeah, and I know that, for a lot of people, like when you have pets, you're very careful about what you put on your lawns. Because we think about our pets and we think about our kids playing in there, and you don't want them to touch the grass and touch the soil, and then, it goes into their mouths. So there is a little bit of this that we can all take part in to take care of Mother Earth, and your passion is very evident. Again, tell people where they can get the book, the name of the book, and where they can find it.
Okay, it's Let's Build a Rain Garden, and you can find it on Amazon.com. Just search the title or search my name, and you can order it there. I know West Bloomfield Parks gave a bunch of copies away for door prizes at the Earth Day celebration yesterday, and they are very. I have to plug West Bloomfield Parks here, so they're really big on native plants and pollinator friendly areas in the parks. There's a lot of no-mow areas, and they're very conscious of that. We are very conscious of that. And there is a native plant sale coming up. Gotta plug this, sorry. Native plant sale.
We all live in this community together. So
if you're interested, this might be a good way to get started on your rain garden. Native plant sale. There's pre-orders between May 16th to May 20th. You have to pre-order. Go on the West Bloomfield Parks website. And then there's curbside pickup from 9 to 12 on May 22nd at Marshbank. So usually it's just an on-site, go shopping, but this year it's pre-order. So if you are interested and excited about building a rain garden, you want to get your plants. That's a great way to start. Get the plants, and there they are. They need to go in somewhere. So you can do this. You can do this.
It start small, and then, you can make it bigger as we continue to go, but you have to just at least start, right?
Yep.
And we can all care for this earth together. Sally, thank you so much for being with us. You're very passionate, and the book is amazing. The illustration, the cover looks incredible. So congratulations to you for writing it. Are you busy on a second one now?
I am. Yes, I'm about halfway through. It's called Dr. Buttonbush. So he's a Michigan green frog. I'll show you a little picture of him. And a buttonbush is a I have him all over my backyard. So here's Dr. Buttonbush. He's reading a book. You can see him here.
Cute, adorable.
He reads all the time, and he's interested in saving his habitat. And Buttonbush is a very interesting shoreline plant that often gets wiped out and cut down when someone moves into a home on a lake. And so we want to save the buttonbush and save the frogs. So here's his little hammock. So he lives there very comfortably. So don't chop down your buttonbush. And he's got some friends that are helping him solve this problem. So we'll see. Maybe that'll be done in 2 more years. I don't know.
You're very creative, though, and you're helping our community and helping the earth at the same time. So we want to say thank you and congratulations again on the book. You're listening to 89.3 WBLD, 88.1 WBFH. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. Again, Sally, the name of the book is Let's Build a Rain Garden. You can find it on Amazon.com. We'll be right back after this break.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries, but you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. My Bridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
You're listening to the Oakland County Megacast on 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We'll be back in just a moment.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or 2 or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Say thank you for hanging in with us here on the Megacast, working through a few technical difficulties, but that's what all of us have been going through over this past year. Just a quick reminder, you can always catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Also, if you have cable, you'll find us on Channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T, and you can listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Beth. Gandhi once said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And one thing throughout the COVID-19 crisis, we have seen the community come together, volunteering, lifting one another up. To talk a little bit more, let's bring in Carol Hack. She's with the Greater West Bloomfield Michigan Week Community Awards. Carol, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so sorry about all of this. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, you're
good.
Fine.
Okay. I just got a funny message on my screen. Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry about the technical difficulty.
Carol, no apologies needed. Trust me, we have all experienced it, and it is perfectly okay. Again, one thing throughout this year is we're all relying on technology, and between Zoom bombs and breakdowns and the internet and this, that, and the other, we just learned to go with the flow.
Well, then I guess that's what we'll do this morning, huh?
Carol, tell us more about Michigan Week and the Community Awards.
Well, we are a 49-year tradition in West Bloomfield, in Greater West Bloomfield, I should say. It was started in 1972 by a West Bloomfield superintendent. And he gathered the schools and the governments and the business and the community leaders to brainstorm a week-long calendar of events to showcase what we're all about in West Bloomfield, which, as the years went on, that week-long celebration, which always ended in a breakfast, which at the state level, it always ended in a breakfast also. But West Bloomfield was kind of joked with because our calendar became a month-long calendar of events celebrating our community, the worship houses, the schools, the businesses. So back when we had an eccentric, a West Bloomfield eccentric, we used to put this week-long calendar in it. And they did an article one time about West Bloomfield does this for a whole month. But we were proud of that. So, but the tradition actually started at the state level so that the great state of Michigan could be celebrated for its people and its places and all of its businesses and our great schools and especially our agriculture and everything that's said about Michigan. So I know when I was a kid that we always did Michigan Week projects that we got to take home. And I can't remember if my kids did or not. I don't remember if anybody else out there remembers that, but I did. But it's great people that makes this a fabulous community. And all of that needs to be celebrated, I think, don't you? So at the center of our Michigan Week tradition is recognizing volunteers. And this megacast comes at the perfect time to shine a light on all the volunteers because this is National Volunteer Week. So it comes at a perfect time. Thank you.
So with that, we know volunteers are so vital to our communities and helping us thrive and survive, and even more so over this past year. So what is the effort? What does it take to try to recognize and honor some of these people?
Whoa, I could be on here all day trying to tell you how we do that. But it is a year-long effort, and it takes the effort of the communities of we call it Greater West Bloomfield because we encompass the city of Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, Kego Harbor, the school district of West Bloomfield, Bloomfield Hills, and West Bloomfield to nominate people in those different sectors that have rise above what they normally do as far as volunteering. And this is all about volunteering. It's not about what you do at work. However, some people at their jobs, depending on their jobs, do go above and beyond what they need to do, and then it turns their workday into a volunteer day. So we are so grateful for all those partners that come together so we can recognize everyone in all those communities. And we're excited that Civic Center TV and the Cable Commission are part of our committee, and they partner with us. They've been partnering with us for many years, and it's because of them that the whole celebration has become what it has become, and it's a much more fun and eventful thing that happens in West Bloomfield.
I love the theme this year, Shining Together, because we have all had to come together over this past year as we continue to navigate the COVID-19 crisis. I believe you want to talk about some of the clips. Do you want to start off with that, Carol?
Sure. Let me go to, I believe your first clip is with Deputy Chief of Police Kurt Lawson. Did a wonderful job. I viewed that clip, and I think that's the first clip we're going to go to.
We're super excited about this program. It's one of the areas where we kind of do a self-assessment here within the police department. One of the areas that we felt we were deficient. We really weren't taking care of our people as far as like whole wellness, and that's physical wellness as well as a mental health wellness. And you know, even officers here in West Bloomfield, we see quite a bit of trauma. And over time, that trauma builds up. And that can lead to physical ailments, mental health issues, and unfortunately, like we see on a national level, suicides. So we wanted to put a program in place where we could get our officers the help that they may need and also be able to identify quickly if we see a potential problem on the horizon and get them the help that they need. Well, I'm happy to report that I think with our younger members of our department that there really isn't a stigma, that they have no issues asking for help and going to seek help, which is great. Because I said this on the WDIV interview in 1994 when I started, if you would see something traumatic, the older officers would say, suck it up. This is what you signed up for. But what they didn't realize is that that's why we, in 2019, had 237 officer suicides in the United States. That you can't keep those emotions and those feelings buried. That there has to be a way for you to vet those feelings, to talk about those feelings. And that's what's so great about this peer support team that we started back in January. And even though it's completely confidential and I have no idea who exactly has spoken to our peer support team, it's my understanding that it's been used quite a bit, which makes us feel great about the direction we're headed.
So again, that was with the West Bloomfield Police Department. They're doing great work over there, starting up a new program to try to help the officers as well deal with some of the emotions of the job. And Carol, why is that important for what all of you are trying to do?
Because we're trying to shine a light this year because so many people have undergone, especially our first responders, our police department and our public safety people and the fire department and EMS that serve our community. And the message that Kurt put out, which I'm so grateful for because I'm a proud mother of a police officer who's a lieutenant at Wayne State University, and I have a nephew that's a sergeant in the Taylor Police Department. So I am glad that the police departments all over in West Bloomfield is leading them into trying to solve this crisis for everyone, because it's so important that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. So we'd like to shine a light on them, and we have a surprise when it comes to our event, May 19th. So we're still not, no one knows yet what's going on and who's won and what they've won. But we're grateful for their support and for their families that give them their first support. Without the support of their families, they couldn't do what they do. So we thank not only the first responders, we thank their families as well.
And please extend our gratitude to your family members for taking on the service of law enforcement. It is a very tough job right now, so we wish them the best and want to say thank you to them as well. Who else do you want to highlight here today, Carol?
Well, we want to highlight, let me see, we are, besides our public safety, we want to highlight other essential workers. If it wasn't for the businesses being open, that we could go buy our milk and buy a pair of jeans if our kids needed one. We need those people at their jobs just as much as we needed the fire and the police department. Obviously to different degrees, and they do different things, but those essential workers kept food on our table, kept clothes on our backs, kept gas in our cars. We need to thank those people also for doing what they do and going to work. One of my sons at the time during this past year worked at a big box store, and he was a little nervous going into work with strangers coming in, but you know what? He went to work every day, he protected himself, and he made sure that customers could come in and feel safe and shop for their essentials. So I want to thank those people. And we have another clip from Susan Levine, who's the director of the Chamber of Commerce for West Bloomfield, and I think she says it all also.
It was born out of the idea that I'm trying to figure out a way to make sure that people do support our local community. We need these small businesses. They are the backbone of our livelihood. They support our schools and our communities. So I was trying to figure out some sort of campaign that could bring customers in, and I was very fortunate to get a great partner in LaFontaine Automotive Group, Subaru and Commerce. They are the sponsor of this great campaign. campaign. And Audrey Reiskamp, who is just, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's just this amazing marketing person for them. And we developed this idea that she would go into many of our local shops and purchase $25 gift cards. And then I would have a trivia contest the beginning and the end of the month. And the first person to answer it would win a $25 gift card to many of our great shops like Crispelli's, Lash Lounge, the UPS store. So we have a lot of really great local community shops, and I'm really hoping that we can bring some business back to them. Maybe people aren't aware that they even exist.
Suzanne has been such a lifeline for so many of our businesses here throughout the West Bloomfield area. She's worked incredibly hard over the past year. We're talking with Carol Hack. She's with the Greater West Bloomfield Michigan Week Community Awards. Carol, we're starting to run out a little bit of time since we got started late, but I know you have one other person you want to highlight.
Yes, we'd like to highlight the library. The library is a lifeline to the community, even though everyone can't go in there all the time like we used to, but they still offer us services. And we were sorry to see our past director retire, Clara Bora, but we have a wonderful new, energetic, Kathy Roos is her name, from the Troy Library, who's become our director at our West Bloomfield Township Public Library, who's very energetic on our committee and is working really hard to keep the lifeline to the community going so that whatever it is you need, you can get it from the library, maybe in a different way, but they do offer different ways and ideas for you to get what you need. So we'd like to hear from Kathy.
I think certainly during the first stages of the pandemic, the library was huge because it provided electronic resources. So even if you couldn't come into the building, you weren't cut off from gaining access to books and materials. We have so many streaming services. We have ebooks that you can download. And, I was listening to your interview with Stacy and hearing about books and everything. And, I'm very much a person who I don't want anyone ever to be without a book, and that the library can still provide that to people. And even if you like, you're not a reader, but you like digital media, streaming movies, streaming music, we have all of that for you. Troy Library is not currently open to the public for different reasons, and that's one thing where Troy Library had to very much increase its expenditures for electronic resources and increase the publicity to let the community know that those resources were available because they couldn't come in the physical building.
So great to be able to honor so many people here in the Greater West Bloomfield area, so many people that have worked tirelessly throughout this pandemic to continue to bring us services. We're talking with Carol Hack. She's with the Greater West Bloomfield Michigan Week Community Awards. The award ceremony is going to be taking place May 19th at 7 p.m. Carol, how can people find more information?
Well, you can always find everything you need to know about this great event at michiganweek.org and navigate through that. That's how you nominate people, which it's too late now, but for next year, just take a look at it and see what you might want to do next year. You can also sponsor by going to the website, but you can also learn the history of Greater West Bloomfield's Community Awards Breakfast and who started it. And that's the best place to go to find out. And you can look at past years. You can also see a list of awards that people have won in past years also. So we're going to have a watch party on May 19th starting at 6 o'clock. We call it the Red Carpet Watch Party for our Community Awards event. So we hope everybody joins us at 6 and at 7 for the actual event.
Well, Carol Hack, we so appreciate your time. Again, the Greater West Bloomfield Michigan Week Community Awards coming up in May. So it's such a great way to honor so many people here in our community. We appreciate your time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be speaking about Michigan and manufacturing. That's next here on the Megacast.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping. taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. Mr. Tyler Key holding things down back there in West Bloomfield. Our apologies to our next guests for running a little bit late, but we're so excited to have you with us. Delaney McKinley, she's the Vice President of Membership Marketing and Events for the Michigan Manufacturers Association, such a vital part of Michigan's economy. Delaney, thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much, Ronnie. Thanks for that fantastic introduction.
When we think about Michigan, manufacturing really has been the backbone of our economy. But we do know over the past decade or so, we've lost so many manufacturing jobs. Where do things stand now as far as the outlook of bringing manufacturing back to the state of Michigan?
Absolutely. You know, and as you know, mentioned, manufacturing is a critical part of our past and will continue to be critical to our future and the success of our country, of our state. Manufacturing has actually grown significantly in the last decade or so. Not only has manufacturing grown nationally, but Michigan has been in the top of job growth over all other sectors, all other states in the last 10 years. We're really proud of that. Certainly the pandemic has been very challenging, but we know that we are seeing increased orders, increased production, and we're really excited about the future.
So right now we have so many people in the middle of the pandemic, these companies, even prior to the pandemic, a workforce and a skilled workforce was a challenge. Where do things stand in that regard here in the state of Michigan? Because we know our elected leaders right now are starting to push to get more skilled workers for manufacturers.
Absolutely. You know, the number one issue that we heard from our members, the number one challenge that they had prior to the pandemic, during the pandemic, and I'm sure continuing after, is talent. Having the right people with the right skills available to fill the jobs that they have. Certainly, there's a demographic issue with the aging of our workforce. There's also issues that have been presented by the pandemic when we've got, childcare issues, when there's virtual schooling, perhaps some hesitancy about in-person work. So we know that our members continue to contend with these and look to address the innovations that are necessary to bring our culture forward in the future.
Yeah, because when we think about this, a lot of manufacturing jobs can't be performed remotely. So that is another hurdle that some of the companies have to overcome.
Absolutely. Manufacturing production is an in-person endeavor. While some jobs can be done remotely, not all of them can. So it's something that we're working to support the industry with to make sure that there's a recognition for that, but to also recognize that there's support for that.
We're talking with Delaney McKinley. She's the Vice President of Membership Marketing and Events for the Michigan Manufacturers Association. I was online earlier today checking out your website, and I will say there are so many of these companies in our own neighborhoods that we don't even know exist.
You're exactly right. That's one of the biggest challenges that we see that the industry has, is that they are the most impactful industry in our state. They're in every single community. They're offering high wage jobs with rich benefits. But unfortunately, there's a lot of misunderstanding and about what those jobs are like and what the industry is about. So one of the things that the Michigan Manufacturers does is work to support that, to provide a greater awareness of not only the industry, but also the careers that they provide.
Because you look at this and the technology has changed so much over the past 20, 25 years. You really need to have skills to be able to work in some of these positions.
You're absolutely right. There's this misconception that it's dark, dirty, dangerous to work in manufacturing, but it could not be farther from the truth. We're talking about high-tech jobs, high-wage jobs with great benefits, and we're working to get the word out about that.
So with that, Delaney, how do you do that? Because we have been in such this cycle of pushing four-year degrees and college degrees on students. And so some of these manufacturing jobs went to the wayside because of that messaging. How do you realign that messaging?
Well, it's a tough challenge, and we're trying to tackle it on a number of different fronts. One of that is working with the legislature, looking at our high school graduation requirements and talking to state officials and asking them, is this something that allows for recognition of the importance of skilled trades education, career and technical education? Do we have the flexibility there that allow students to explore these other alternatives and gain skills that could help them enter a manufacturing career? We're also working in communities directly with students to support an awareness of the kind of careers that are available, not just students, teachers, counselors, but also parents, so that they know if their child comes home and says, hey, I want to be a welder, or I want to be a CNC operator, that the parents say, hey, that's a really great choice. How can I support you in that? We're also doing a number of different things broadly amongst the public to confront some of those misconceptions. One of the fun ways that we do that is we do an annual awards. I know your prior speaker was talking about awards, but we also have an awards program. Part of that awards program is the competition for the coolest thing made in Michigan, which has been a really fun endeavor that's brought a lot of attention to the billions of products that are made in Michigan every day.
I think so many people in the public would be completely surprised at some of these products. Give us a few.
Absolutely. When looking at the 2020 Coolest Thing Made in Michigan top 10 finalists, there are a number of things from yummy ice cream that's made in Hudsonville. We've got things that help support humankind through personal positioning technologies made in Bay City. Really fun entertainment things like skis that are made in Boyne City, boats that are made in Manistee, heartwarming things like the puppy warmer incubator that's made in Battle Creek. Ultimately, in 2020, who was chosen as the coolest thing made in Michigan, it's a product that sustains all of our electronics and solar-powered products. It's something that's become even more of a focus in the last year, with more people being dependent on their computers, their phones, other electronics. So the ultra-pure polysilicon that's produced by Hemlock Semiconductor Operations did take home the 2020 Coolest Thing Made in Michigan award.
That's awesome. I know we're going to be speaking with the senior vice president right after our interview, so I'm looking forward to hearing from him. And so with that, we do have a big push right now. With the pandemic, we have our state legislators that are pushing for a community college and trying to entice some of the people and the adults here within the state of Michigan to go back to school, to take advantage of the program and the education, free education right now for some of them. How do you think that's going to impact the manufacturing economy in a year or two?
Yeah, there have been a number of programs that have been created in the last couple of years that are very supportive of growing manufacturing talent, whether that is creating new skills for new individuals to enter the industry or upskilling those that are already in the industry. Michigan Reconnect, a free community college program that will allow even incumbent workers to upskill, go back to college, and certainly Futures for Frontliners. These are both programs that we were very supportive of, and as were our members, and hoping and recognizing the contributions that frontliners have made. Manufacturers were some of the first to come back and have been working to keep our globe operating. We are very supportive of those. We're also very supportive of the Going Pro Talent Fund, which can be used for community college or short-term training. Those are all things that really support the expansion of skills within manufacturing.
Delaney McKinley with us here on the Megacast. She's with the Michigan Manufacturers Association. Tell us more about your association and the work that you do.
Sure, absolutely. The Michigan Manufacturers Association is the only statewide advocate and solutions provider, and we're fighting exclusively for Michigan's manufacturing community. We work every day here in Lansing to secure a prosperous future for Michigan manufacturers. We do that through effective advocacy at the state capitol and meaningful education and strategic business services. We represent nearly 1,700 manufacturers across the state, and in some cases, those are small mom and pop shops, but it also includes the iconic global corporations that we're all familiar with.
So do you think it's hard to get the messaging out for some of these companies? Because for some, they're making parts that go into other parts, so it's kind of hard to get a marketing brand around them.
You're right. There's been a lot of focus on business-to-business marketing, thinking about how are they keeping their business going. But I think a lot of our manufacturers are looking at some broader awareness and marketing techniques to get to that talent gap and the issue that they have in attracting talent. So they are looking at some awareness issues. Manufacturers have always been very, very invested in their communities. But now with some of the tools that are available through social media, other digital marketing means, they are looking for those opportunities to try and overcome some of those misconceptions that seem to be so deeply ingrained.
Delaney McKinley with us here on the Megacast. She's the Vice President of Membership Marketing and Events for Michigan Manufacturers Association. Just another minute or two here with you on the show. How are some of the companies doing throughout this past year in the pandemic?
I have been in awe of our member companies. I worked for MMA for about 11 years, and my very favorite thing about working here is our members. The industry is really inspiring. They are the number one problem solvers and innovators that we have in our culture and have been for generations. And they stayed true to that expectation through this crisis. They never stopped. They continued to look for solutions. They found ways to produce things to support their talent, to support their local communities. We, in fact, developed a video to acknowledge and to thank our members for the work that they did. It's been really awe-inspiring. There's still challenges that remain, but they are tackling them and really prospering and looking to grow even more in the future.
Well, if anything, we do know that in the middle of this pandemic, especially at the beginning of the crisis, it really did highlight how we have been sending our manufacturing and buying things overseas. And so there is a big push to bring it back to America. So hopefully that's going to be the silver lining that comes out of this crisis. Delaney, how can people find out more information about your association before we say goodbye?
Great, thanks so much. I would encourage you to check out mimfg.org for lots of information about us, to access that video that I mentioned before. And feel free to contact me directly if you've got any questions.
Delaney, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ronnie. It's been a pleasure.
Delaney McKinley with us, Vice President of Membership, Marketing, and Events for the Michigan Manufacturers Association. We so appreciate your help with so many of these companies throughout the pandemic. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with one of those companies. That's right after the break here on the Megacast.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too. Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too. Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
We want to to say thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. As a reminder, you can always catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Also, if you have cable, you'll find us on Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T, and you can listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff, and we are also live streaming today's edition of the show on our social media sites. And as Delaney was just talking about, there are so many manufacturing companies right here in the state of Michigan. They're operating in our backyards, and for so many of us, we don't understand the importance they are contributing to not only our local economy, but really the global economy. One of those companies, Hemlock Semiconductor. And to tell us more, let's bring in Phil Dembowski. He's the Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer. Thank you so much for being with us, Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Ronnie and Tyler. I appreciate the opportunity to join your show and talk a little bit about the coolest thing made in Michigan and Hemlock Semiconductor.
I will say, before today, the thing I love about the show is every day I learn something new.
Right.
But you know, the crazy, you've been around since what, like 1961?
1961.
And we're looking at this, and you're right here in our backyard. You're in the Saginaw area. But tell us more about the products that you make. You're the coolest manufacturing product in the state of Michigan, and a lot of people don't even know what you do.
Right, exactly. So yeah, Hemlock Semiconductor has been around since 1961. It was founded really at the start of the electronics age, right? And initially it was all focused on making hyper pure polysilicon for the semiconductor industry, right? For all of the new consumer electronics and things that were coming out from calculators and televisions and things in the 1960s. We were originally, started out of Dow Corning Corporation, right, which is another big company up in mid-Michigan. Today, we're owned 80% by Corning Glass and 20% by Shinichi Hondatai, who is a Japanese semiconductor wafer producer. But really, we started as a manufacturing company making this really cool material, polysilicon. I'll hold this up to the screen. I'm not sure if your audience can see that. That is a hyper pure piece of polysilicon, although it's not very pure now that I've touched it, but that is what Hemlock makes. And polysilicon is the start of the entire electronic supply chain and the solar supply chain. And solar has really been a big focus over just the last 20 years.
This really is fascinating because it's such a vital part of our day-to-day lives, and we don't even think about it.
No, that's just it. Nobody even knows kind of that Hemlock exists. We like to say it's kind of the Silicon Valley hidden in the cornfields of Saginaw County, because we really are the start of the whole thing. And, for solar grade polysilicon, there's lots of companies that can make that. But for semiconductor grade polysilicon, there's really only 5 companies in the world that make semiconductor grade. And Hemlock is one of those. And again, when we talk about semiconductor grade, we say like 11/9 purity. That means 99.999999%. That's like 10 parts per trillion in purity. 10 parts per trillion is 2 seconds in 3,200 years, for perspective, or a grain of sand in 16 Olympic-sized pools. So we are talking about super, super high purity. Actually, the polysilicon we make is one of the purest substances on the face of the earth. So it has to be that pure for the semiconductor industry. That's one of the main requirements for them.
So it's with that, it's a product that we all need, and it's utilized in all of our electronics and so many other things. But yet, for people such as myself without a science background, I did have to watch a few videos today to even try to, decipher the language in which you're using. Does that make it hard for you to market your company?
A little bit. It's more hard to market to the public and to, just mainstream media. I mean, certainly the customers who need polysilicon know who Hemlock is. We're one of the giants, right? So people know who we are. So it's not a customer issue. We're selling business to business. But for the local community and Michigan overall and the federal government, it's more like, oh, really? I had no idea polysilicon was so critical, and that there's only a few companies that make it, and Hemlock is one of them. And so it is really important. And as you talk about electronics, every device that somebody is watching this show on right now has silicon that came through Hemlock, Michigan. And I can say that because there's only 5 companies who really make semiconductor grade, and each device has, 20, 30, 40 chips. And so some of that silicon came through Hemlock. It's pretty much guaranteed.
It's fascinating to me. We're talking with Phil Dembowski. He's the Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer for Hemlock. With that, can we talk a little bit about staffing and employees? Is that a challenge for your company right now?
It is, and we've been, the solar market has been really volatile. It's a lot more commoditized, and so Hemlock's been through some difficult times. We've had some workforce reductions, over the last 5 years related more to the solar market than the semiconductor market. But, as Delaney was saying, skilled trades is tough for a lot of people, finding the right talent. Obviously, Hemlock is a high-tech company. We have a lot of engineering and science people, and the mid-Michigan area is pretty good because you have Dow Chemical and you have DuPont up here, and so there's a pretty good talent pool. But I will tell you, the skilled trades, it's hard finding people in the skilled trades area. And we have a lot of our own skilled trades, as well as all the contractors we use in this area when we're doing capital projects or construction. So I know I sit on the Saginaw Future Board, which is the local economic development agency here. And a lot of the companies struggle with how are we going to get the right talent that we need. And it's a little harder being up here in mid-Michigan. We're not down by Detroit where there's a little bit, so it's harder to pull talent up here, but it's really important.
So what skill set do you need or are you looking for?
We hire a lot. I mean, we recruit every year out of universities for engineering talent, primarily chemical, mechanical, electrical engineers. And we recruit out of mostly Midwest, University of Michigan, Michigan State, Michigan Tech, Purdue, places like Wayne State. And so those are the places we go. We've had pretty good success getting local talent to come and join us. And then on the skilled trade side, we need people that are like electricians and welders and pipe fitters and millwrights. And, I look at our team and, it's an aging population. As we get a little bit older, it's like, who are the new people that are going to be the apprentices, right?
And you really do wonder about that. But, so much of this is played into the conversations, because if you had a blue collar family, your parents worked in blue collar, then they pushed a college education on you.
Sure.
The 4-year degree has been pushed so heavily on so many of our students, I would say over the past decade. It used to be, now I feel like, a 4-year degree is what a high school degree. It used to be, but it's about realigning that conversation to let people know not everyone needs a 4-year degree. We need you in these other areas as well.
Yeah, a 4-year degree is not the only path to success. There are other paths to success. And again, we have Delta College here in the Saginaw area, local community college, and they do a really good job helping train some of the operators that run plants like Dow Chemical and Hemlock, and some of the skilled trades people. So we're grateful to have them in the region.
So what is it behind the scenes to try to go in? Do you work with some of these local colleges as well to help design a program per se, so that you can get a skilled workforce out of it?
Yeah, with Delta specifically, we've done some work with them. And then with the universities, again, we're actively recruiting at the engineering schools and try to touch base with them. Hemlock does a lot in the community too in this region. We're really supportive of STEM education, so we help build a new robotics center in Hemlock that the local area can use. We support scholarships for high school students to go up to Michigan Tech for their week-long engineering intensive. So we're doing a lot of things in the community to kind of bolster STEM and trades education. And again, selfishly, so that people will come and work at Hemlock someday is the idea, right? We want people to have the right talent. Right?
Exactly. It's like an investment in the future.
It's an investment in the future. Whether they come to Hemlock or not, it's an investment in this region to get local kids into programs where we know there's going to be talent needs in the future.
We're talking with Phil Dembowski. He's the Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer for Hemlock. And with that, Phil, how have things been going over the past year with the pandemic?
Sure. It was early on, it was a struggle. I mean, again, we're an essential industry, right? So, I mean, if we don't make polysilicon, you've heard about the chip shortages and automotive, we're the start of the supply chain. So if we aren't supplying polysilicon, then down the road, there isn't wafers and chips and there isn't solar panels. And so we've been working the entire time. Now, early on, we put in place all kinds of measures and protocols following the CDC guidelines and the state of Michigan guidelines to make sure. But our team did a great job. The Hemlock team, was able to manufacture product. We didn't miss customer orders. All of my semiconductor customers, were calling me right as the pandemic started and said, please assure us that you're going to continue to supply and you've got the right, protocols. And so we were able to do that. It's been a great time. Our team really pulled together. We had a pretty good 2020, and 2021 is shaping up to be very good so far this year.
So with that, Phil, before we say goodbye, because this is the first time we're talking with you, and I feel like it's probably the first time a lot of people in the community, especially down here in Metro Detroit, are learning more about your company. Right. What else do you want to share about the work that you're doing and how people can find out more information? Sure. Well, Hemlock, and a lot of people don't know this, Hemlock's the biggest consumer of electricity in the state of Michigan. So that's, again, making polysilicon is very energy intensive. It takes a lot of electricity. And so we are the biggest electricity consumer. And because of that, we're very cautious about how we use it. We are very efficient. We have designed programs and procedures over the years to get every ounce of energy we can out of all the things that we do so that we don't waste anything. And last year we kicked off a whole, it was really our first year where we issued a corporate sustainability report. We started to change the metrics and things within our company about how are we creating a sustainable future. Again, solar, which is a big part of our business, is all about green energy and sustainability. But as we started down that path, we said, well, we have to look internally. What are all the things that we're doing to make sure we're more sustainable? And so we've really had last year was a great effort, and we've got a lot of things going on to try to make sure that we're improving the sustainability of solar as well as our company carbon footprint. That is amazing to think about, with the energy, so many things. So how do you top being named the 2020 coolest thing made in Michigan? How do you top that title? What's next? It's funny. I asked, isn't there a coolest thing made in the U.S.? We got to go for it, right? I don't think there's a U.S. Manufacturers Association, but I was wondering what the next step is. So certainly, educating people in the state of Michigan and people nationally about the importance of polysilicon in both the semiconductor and solar supply chain. That's partly my mission and other people, our government affairs group at Hemlock. I don't know how we top the greatest thing in Michigan. We think polysilicon is pretty cool, and we're trying to get the word out so that everybody else does too. Right. Well, if anything, throughout the past year, we've all realized how vital technology and all of the equipments that we're using right now, they really are to us. I mean, this isn't a luxury anymore. Right. This is really a necessity in order to operate in today's world. Yeah, that's one of the things the pandemic brought about, I think, for a lot of people in the U.S. is the importance of supply chains. And you really realize how dependent we are on a global economy. And in some cases, it's like, are we too dependent, right? I mean, clearly there was almost no PPE made in the United States. And it was like, wow, maybe that's something we should make inside the U.S. And so there's critical industries that you don't want to necessarily have total dependence on outside of the United States. Yeah, that has definitely been highlighted throughout the crisis. And we know that Senator Gary Peters has really been an advocate to try to bring manufacturing back to the United States, but also to the state of Michigan. Yeah. Senator Peters and Senator Stabenow have been both good supporters of Hemlock Semiconductor and what we're trying to do. So I appreciate any of their efforts. So with that, anything else that you want to share with us? Just another minute or two before we say goodbye. How can people find out more information? Well, sure. You can always go to our website, hscpoly.com. It's not really set up as a consumer website because we don't really sell polysilicon to people, but there's plenty of information there to find out more about polysilicon and what we do and find out a little bit more about what we're doing on sustainability. So that's always a good place to go. And again, I would encourage people just to, keep following the news about solar and about semiconductor in the United States, because again, a lot of the supply for the U.S. is outside the U.S. and we're working to make sure we highlight how important it is to make sure we have U.S. manufacturing and hopefully Michigan manufacturing. Right. And, you know, the important thing in this, too, is developing the workforce to be able to support companies such as yours, because if we're going to try to bring manufacturing back to the state of Michigan and continue to grow it, we need to have the workforce there as well. And I know that on your website, it says that it's a fun work environment. And, you know, just knowing that, then we wish you the best of luck. And for so many people out there, you know, explore companies such as yours, because we need you to continue to thrive and survive and support our economy. So thank you again for being with us, Phil.
Thanks so much, Ronnie. Tyler, appreciate it.
So before we say goodbye, what's the website once again? HSCPOLY.com. That's our corporate website. Okay, Phil. Thanks again. Phil Dembowski, he's the Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer for Hemlock Semiconductor. Tyler, I had to go to YouTube and watch some of the videos.
Yeah, really interesting stuff that they're doing over there, and cutting edge stuff too. It's really important for not just us here in our community here in the state of Michigan, but all throughout the world, because our world, especially during this pandemic, has become so engulfed in electronic communication and electronic work as well. And so they play a crucial part in that, and it's great to have a company like that, especially with the work they do being so unique, being right here in Michigan, Ronnie.
Well, and one of the good things, too, I think, coming out of the pandemic, when we're looking at companies like this, they are able to reach globally to try to attract talent here to the state of Michigan, because it's pretty common for everyone to do everything via Zoom right now. So it will help them share their story a little bit more. So again, we need to support them by getting a skilled workforce in here to continue to support manufacturing in the state of Michigan. So thank you to Phil for being with us and sharing that information. That's pretty much going to wrap it up here for the Wednesday edition of the Megacast. We want to say thank you to everyone for being with us. We will be back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, starting at 10 a.m. This has been the Megacast.